everyone and welcome to another video from Colour with Claire. Today we're going to be looking at all different types of eyes, specifically fantasy Halloweenish type eyes. Seeing as we're coming up to the Halloween period now, I thought it'd be really interesting for those of you who maybe want to colour some portraits but want to put a little scary twist on them to come up with all these different kinds of eyes that we can use in our colouring books when we're colouring portraits. So I've got 20 different examples to show you and I'm going to do them one by one. I'm going to do them in real time so that you can do them with me. I am using Prismacolor pencils and you will also need a black fine liner like this one and also a white gel pen to do your highlights. So as long as you've got coloured pencils, a black fine liner or a black ballpoint pen and a white pen to do your highlights, you'd be able to do this tutorial. You don't need to use Prismacolor pencils, just try and find the alternative colours that I'm using. So we'll start off with a really bright kind of neon green eye. And for that we're going to need, well, first of all, I said I was going to use Prismacolors, but I'm using one Holbein. This is the Holbein Luminous Green because the Prismas don't have a neon green. So the Holbein Luminous Green. Then from the Prismacolor set, you're going to need the True Green, which is PC 910. The Parrot Green, which is PC 1006. And 90% Cool Grey, which is PC 1067. So these are all the colours that you'll need for the eye. Now I'm going to start off by using the Luminous Green, or basically any neon pen or pencil that you've got. You could use a neon pen to put the base down and then pencil over the top. But I'm very simply going to ring the pupil with the neon green. There we go. And then you will take your True Green and go around where you've put the neon. Now at this moment in time it does not have to be blended. It can be as sort of linear and separate as you like. So it's probably easier to do it that way actually, because you can go in and blend it all afterwards. So I'm just thickening this line of True Green a little bit. Okay, and then your next one is the Parrot Green, and this can go pretty much right to the edge, just all the way around the True Green that you just put down. By the way, these are just clip art eyes, so you'll be practicing in your colouring books. Maybe you'll want to try it in a Hannah Lynn book or a Jasmine Beckett Griffith book. Mariola Budek, you know, these beautiful large-eyed ladies that we find in colouring books or colouring pages. So you can practice on there. So now that we've done the basics of it, we can go back in with the next colour down. So we've just put the Parrot Green down, so we want to get our True Green now and go over the line of the Parrot Green so that it starts to blend a little bit. So I'm using quite hard pressure, and because Prismacolors are such soft pencils, they blend really easily, and you can see that that's just blurring the line between the Parrot Green and the True Green, so it looks a little bit more blended. You can do exactly the same with the neon, so blending, quite hard pressure, the line where the neon meets the True Green. You see it's a lot more blended now than it was before. Don't worry if you get any of the pencil pigment on the pupil, you can always go back over that with a black pen, your black fine liner, or a black pencil, just like that. Now with the 90% Cool Grey, I'm just going to do a bit of shadow around the edge of the eye. So almost where you put the Parrot Green, really, you can go over the top of that Parrot Green a little bit with your 90% Cool Grey. You could always use black as well if you wanted to. This is kind of the next best thing to a black. And once you've done that, we want to just quickly run through those steps again. So taking your Parrot Green, you're blurring the edge of the grey, hard pressure, on that line where they meet. And then if needed, you can go back in with each one of your colours in turn and reapply them to blend. So true green and then the luminous green. So that's the basics of this green eye. I'm just going to pop a little bit more grey in here just to crispen it up around the edges a little bit. You can have a play with it, you know, as much as you like. But if you wanted to, just as a little extra, you don't have to, you could get a green fine liner, a dark green fine liner, and just pull a few little lines, hang on, there we go, pull a few little lines of this green out from the edge of the iris and then out from the edge of the pupil. I'm not doing anything, you know, technical here or artsy. This is just literal lines of all different lengths coming out of both the iris at the edge and then out of the pupil as well, just to give it a little bit more interest, I guess. But there you go, that is the basic green eye. You'll also need your highlight, which I usually put top right, overlapping the pupil and a little bit of the iris, so just about there. And try and keep that quite nice and circular. I'm using a Posca pen, by the way, for this. So that's the first eye. It's very simple. It's not really, you know, too creepy. You could use that on any kind of face, really. It doesn't have to be for Halloween or fantasy. Next up, we're going to go completely off the grid, and we're going to do something that looks a little bit like those Halloween contact lenses that you can buy, and a few of these are going to look like contact lenses. So I've got them planned out on another sheet of paper, but I'll just do them one by one so you can see. They're not in any particular order. So this one, I'm going to get my black fine liner and I'm going to draw a line down the centre of the eye. I'm then going to draw another line horizontally, another line diagonally, and another line there. So it's almost like making a star. Once you've done that, do these little U shapes joining each line, and I'm sure by now you can guess what it is. It is a spider's web, and it's so simple. But you know, if you're colouring say a Hannah Lynn picture that's, you know, got a bit of a creepy feel to it, or you want it to have a creepy feel to it, give it some spiderweb eyes, you know, just to have that bit of difference, that bit of interest. You know, you don't usually see eyes being decorated in this way, so you know, it's just a little bit of fun, really. So there you go, very, very simple spiderweb eye. Next up, let's do a pumpkin if we're going to do Halloween. So for this one, you will need, give me a second, pale vermilion, which is PC 921, and orange, PC 918, and Spanish orange, which is, if I can find it, PC 1003. So those are the three colours for the pumpkin eye. Now, I'm going to do exactly the same thing as I did with the green eye. So we're going to start with the lightest colour in the centre, which is this Spanish orange. And we're going to just ring the pupil. They're not all going to be this same technique, by the way. We'll do a few little bits, different bits and bobs as we go. And then you'll move on to the orange to ring that. So exactly the same process as we did with the green eye. And then the pale vermilion at the outer edge. We're going to add a really special, tiny weeny little doodle to make this a proper pumpkin contact lens or eye. So going back down to the next colour again, which is the orange, to do that blend in, and then the Spanish orange to blur the line Oh, I knew that was going to break. Spanish orange to blur the line in between that and the middle colour, the orange. So once you've got, you know, a pretty smooth blend going on there, I mean, you could use that as your eye, you don't have to do anything further, but just to make it Halloweeny, here's what we're going to do. We're going to draw two kind of diagonal lines outside of the pupil each side, and we're going to curve a line underneath like this. You don't have to be precise, it doesn't have to be, you know, Van Gogh, so you should end up with something that looks a little bit like that. We're then going to put a line here, and we're going to follow it around as we would if we were carving a pumpkin. So a very simple, I don't know what you call this, like a castle edge, and then just bring it all the way around, following the bottom curve of the eye, or the iris. Fill that in. And there you have a very, very simple, but I think you'll agree, effective pumpkin eye. So again, really, really quick and easy. Next up, we're going to go for a completely black iris, but we're not just going to colour it black. We've got a little trick that we can do just to give it a bit of dimension. So you will need your black pencil. You'll also need a 70% cool grey, which is PC 1065. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to colour the entirety of the iris in black, apart from a little bean shape just here. So just create a little jelly bean shape at the bottom of the eye. You can go straight over the pupil to make it as dark as you can. Just leaving that very rough kind of crescent moon jelly bean shape at the bottom. Okay, now once you have it nice and black, you'll take your 70% cool grey and just fill in that jelly bean. So I'm using hard pressure over the edge where the black meets the grey so that it looks nice and blended, as we did before. And if there are any sort of discrepancies, or not discrepancies, but mistakes, or you want to go back in with the black and just neaten up that grey jelly bean, you can do that. But this just gives it a look of a dull shine. So it's not a bright white highlighted shine, it's a dull shine. And then what I would do is I would take, hang on a second, I'm just going to put some white, Posca ink down on a piece of scrap paper, and I'm going to take my gel pen, I need a bit more ink there. I'm going to take my finer gel pen, pick up some of that Posca ink, and then I'm going to do a little highlight shape, which is almost like an upside down triangle, but tapering to a flat base. Okay, so just like this, and then you can fill it in. Let's just put a little bit of ink on there, it might make it easier. You can just fill it in and you've got a highlight there. So it's still keeping the black solid, but you've added the white highlight for the shine and also this kind of dull grey shimmer underneath, if that makes sense. You know what I mean. So that's how I would colour a completely black eye. I probably wouldn't make this highlight so fat and so wide, just gone a bit too far there, but you know, you can play around with it. Next up, let's do Let's do like a blood-spattered iris. This is awesome. So for this one, you'll need just permanent red and black. So permanent red is PC 122. Put these to the side. Now for this one, pick up your permanent red and just do loads of weird little dribbles and squiggles coming out of the centre of the pupil. So again, this is like one of those contact lenses that you'd buy for a Halloween party or a rave or something. I wouldn't know, I've never been to one. And once you've sort of done this kind of jellyish shape, it's very rough, you don't need to follow any kind of pattern. You can just do a few more little bits as if they've almost dripped away from the centre of the eye. Kind of like that. It looks really cool. It's very, very simple, but it looks, you know, really cool. Now with the black, that's just to give it a little bit of shadow around the outside of the iris. So I'm not pressing hard. I'm just going around the outside. You can see I'm not pressing hard because it's not filling the tooth of the paper. It's just giving it a little tickle of colour, which just contrasts really well with the red. And there you go. Again, very, very simple but effective. Next, let's do a neon kind of cat's eye with a bit of blood incorporated into it. Sounds great, doesn't it? So for this one, you'll need your permanent red again. You will need neon yellow and your black. So for this one, we're going to create a sort of cat's eye. Is it a cat's eye or a snake eye? And for that, you just need to take your black and create an oval around the pupil like that. And then you can fill that oval in so that we end up with an elongated pupil like a cat's eye instead of a round one. Then you will need to use your neon yellow. I'm just trying to think of the process. I have practiced, but neon yellow to go around that pupil that you've just created. So just like that, just go around it. And then your permanent red, we're going to do an outline of the whole eye first of all. And then we're going to do some little zigzags. And you don't have to be kind of consistent with the zigzag, or, you know, there's no pattern to it. You just zigzag it. Maybe some will come out further than others. And using that neon really just packs a punch instead of using a flat yellow. And you can use the neon just to push back some of the red, maybe if it's gone a bit too far. But just be careful, because you may find that you're actually dragging some of that red pigment where you don't want it to be. So just keep kind of cleaning your neon yellow off as you go. And it'll end up something like this, which I think is really, really cool. It's kind of like an Eye of Sauron from Lord of the Rings, but we are going to do a proper Eye of Sauron later. This is just a red equivalent of the Eye of Sauron. I'm just going to show you really quickly, actually. Really quickly, because this is a mess. The eye that I practiced doing this, which looks loads better than the one that I've just done. So maybe what I'll do is I'll take a red fine liner and then just make the lines just a little bit more precise. Anyway, you get the gist. So that is how I would do that kind of eye or that kind of contact lens. You could use this on anything, couldn't you? Vampire, some kind of hybrid that you're colouring, whatever you like. So there we go. Do not forget also to put your highlights in, guys. So there is the highlight for that one and for this one. Next up, we're going to do a double pupil now. This is like, if you ever watch the Exorcist TV series, when you're possessed by a demon, you'll get a double iris on your eye. It's really freaky. So for this one, you're going to need pale sage, which is PC 1089. Just move all of this to the side so I'm not getting mixed up. So pale sage, sap green light, which is PC 289, and Prussian green, or Prussian green, how do you guys say it, which is PC 109. Okay, so just referring back, the first thing I'm going to do before I start to colour is to draw in that extra pupil. So you don't need to be an artist, as I've said. Just try your best to draw in a little curved shape like that, and then a little slither of a pupil. It doesn't have, obviously it's not going to be a full pupil, but it's just giving that impression that there is another iris within the same eyeball. Freaky. Okay, pretty much the same thing that we did on the green eye and the pumpkin eye, which is to take your lightest colour, which is the sap green light. Is it sap? Oh, great, that I've got the grey green light. 1 second. Picked up the wrong pencil. Sap green light, where are you? Here we are. This is sap green light, PC 120. So pick up your lightest one, which is now pale sage, PC 1089. And do exactly what we did before. Lightest colour in the centre. Then the sap green light. Then the Prussian green. I don't know why I chose these particular greens. They're quite dull greens. There's nothing particularly, you know, poppy outy about these greens, not like the previous green one that we did. But I guess it looks a little bit more dull, a little bit more dead. I don't know, I just liked it. Even though these are supposed to be sort of possession eyes, it kind of reminds me of a zombie eye. I guess you could be a possessed zombie. So I'm going back in with the middle colour to, again, hard pressure, blur that line so it's nice and smooth, and again with the pale sage to do the exact same thing. Now of course we've got another eye to do here, and we need to make it, well, you could make it different, you could do it completely different colour, that'd probably be quite freaky, but I'm going to do it the same as we've done with this one. So again, pale sage, sap green light, and Prussian green. Going back down the colours again to blend them in, and when you're happy that it all looks blended, I would at this point grab that 90% cool grey that we pulled out earlier and just outline quite lightly where the Prussian grey meets the edge of the iris, just to give it a little bit more definition and contrast. So you're not going mad, just to give that definition and contrast. And again, if you've got any pencil pigment, you know, blurring your black pupil, you can always go back in, draw that back in. Again, if you wanted to, you could take your, where is it? Your dark green fine liner, or your black fine liner even, and do those little lines. Just coming from the edge of the iris and then out from the pupil. There is another really cool way to do this that I'll show you in a moment with a colourless blender. So you don't have to mess about with fine liners and stuff, but I'll show you that as we go on. Again, don't forget your highlight, so I'm going to pop that there and probably that one down there. Really cool. What I might do just to finish that one off is get the black and really define the edge of that eye, just to give it a bit more pop because it is quite dull. You know me, I can never decide and I can never leave things alone. I'm always messing. So yeah, I'll leave that now. Next one, we're going to do just the same as we did with the green up here. We're going to do a nice blue combination. So again, these don't all have to be Halloween gory eyes. You can use them on fantasy characters, fairies, elves, witches, you know, anything that you like. And this one you can use on any kind of face, a normal face. So this is Sky Blue Light. So I'm just finding my pencils at the same time as I'm telling you them. Sky Blue Light is 1086. Then Non-Photo Blue, which is 919. True Blue, which is 903. And Copenhagen Blue, which is 906. Exactly the same thing as the green. I hope you don't get bored of this, but we are going to change it up. It's just the best way I think of colouring the eye, getting it lighter towards the dark pupil. So again, taking the lightest colour, ringing the pupil. The next lightest colour, the Non-Photo Blue, ring around there. Then the True Blue. And then the Copenhagen Blue on the edge. Then we'll go back down the ladder, True Blue to blend that line. Then the Non-Photo Blue. And finally, if needed, the Sky Blue Light. That is a really beautiful, bright blue eye. Again, just filling in the pupil if it's gone a bit light or if it's been blurred a little bit by pigment. So redefining, and then again, if you want to, you can get a dark blue or a black fine liner, do your little lines, some longer than others. There is obviously a much more artistic way to try and draw an eye realistically than this, but this is really quick and it's still effective, you know. It's not perfect, but it's effective. So that is the beautiful bright blue eye. Next up, we've got a rainbow eye. So for this one, you're going to need quite a few different colours. So for the rainbow eye, we will need Copenhagen Blue, which we've already got out, True Blue, which we've already got out, Aquamarine, which is PC 905, Spring Green, which is PC 913, Yellow Chartreuse or Chartreuse, which is 1004, Canary Yellow, which is PC 916, Yellowed Orange, PC 1002, Pale Vermilion, which I believe we've already got out, yep, PC 921, Crimson Red, PC 924, Mulberry, PC 995, and then finally Lilac, which is, that's not the right one, Lilac is PC 956. Actually, no, scrub that. That lilac is for the next eye. I can't read my own writing. So instead of the lilac, you need the violet, which is PC932. So these are all the pencils. Now it looks like an awful lot of pencils, doesn't it? But we only need a little bit of each colour on the eye. So it's up to you to gauge how much you need to put down depending on how big your eye is. So starting with the Copenhagen blue, we're going to put a little bit of this down over here. Doesn't really matter where you put it, to be honest, but this is where I'm putting it. So a little bit of that down there. Then your true blue. And as I say, if you're using Prismacolors, they do blend themselves, so they're very, very easy to blend. You might need to work a bit harder if you're using different pencil types. This is aquamarine, and that'll go into the true blue, starting to change it now to a more greenish colour. Then you've got your spring green. Then your yellow chartreuse or chartreuse, never know how to say that. And that will start transferring you into a yellow. So this is the canary yellow. From there, you'll take your yellowed orange and put some of that down. Again, you can go backwards and use that canary yellow to blend and blur the line. I'm really hoping that this isn't, my overhead light isn't causing any issues with you seeing it. So if I just pull this up, you can see, especially with the blue eye, now I've put it down flat on the paper, there's a lot of glare, isn't there? If I lift it up out of the light, you can see without the glare how it looks. So I've just noticed that when I was doing that black eye, you wouldn't have been able to see what I was talking about with the grey. So I'm just going to lift it up. Sorry, I'm just going to lift it up so that you can see. So at this angle, can you see how the grey just looks like a very, very dull shine? You can't see that underneath the light because of the glare. But I'll show you them all at the end again anyway. So where were we? So we were just blending out that yellowed orange with the canary yellow. You're then going to go in with your pale vermilion, so that will blend into your orange, or your yellowed orange, and start to go to the red end of the spectrum now. So just using that yellowed orange again to blur between the pale vermilion. Then after the pale vermilion, you will need the crimson red. And these will all blend really nicely together, these colours. I've tried to create the smallest rainbow palette that I could with the least amount of colours for you to still get a good smooth rainbow. So just using that previous colour, which is actually the pale vermilion, so I'm using the wrong colour, to blend. And then from the crimson red, you'll go to the mulberry. And from the mulberry, it'll be your final colour, the violet. And that should all blend in really, really nicely. So there you've got a really, really nice rainbow eye. You could do this for anything, couldn't you really? Sprites and fairies and elves or unicorns or anything you like. Don't forget your highlight. Simple. Okay, next up we're gonna have a bit of an experiment, and this will probably go wrong because it went wrong in my testing phase and I haven't bothered to try and do it again until now. So it probably will go wrong, but you will need for this one dioxane purple hue or dioxazine, which is PC132, violet, which we've just had out, PC932. I've just said that, haven't I? Oh, PC132 and PC932. And then the lilac that I mentioned earlier, which is PC956. So we're gonna do exactly the same thing as we did on the blue and the green eye, taking your lightest colour first and doing that exact same technique, but we are going to add something special to it. So this is like taking the base method and then extending it. So we've put the lilac down, now we'll ring that with the purple, or the violet rather. And then the dioxazine, purple hue I think it's called, to really darken up that edge. Skipping back down the colours again to blur and blend. Blur and blend, I should trademark that, shouldn't I? Okay, and then using the lilac to do exactly the same thing until you end up with that lovely seamless blend, or kind of seamless blend. So I have to keep adjusting my position to see it out of the glare as well. Make sure that it's all going down smoothly, because it's hard to tell sometimes. So hopefully that's nice and smooth on camera for you guys now. So again, you could leave it like that if you wanted. Purple eye, there you go, there's the combo. Just going to go over that bit again. But if you wanted to, you could make it even more witchy and Halloweeny by adding in a pentagram. Now, this is where it's all going to go wrong. So because this pen that I have here, this white Uniball Cyno gel pen, is absolutely rubbish, and they used to be amazing, but I think maybe I need a new one. I'm going to be using, just as I did before, some Posca paint to pick up and use as the pentagram. Now this is where it's all going to go wrong, because I'm going to put quite a bit of paint down on there. Hopefully you can see that. I'm going to pick it up with the nib of this pen, which is completely covered in dry paint, so I'll just clean it off. I'm going to pick it up with the nib of this pen, and hopefully it won't be too thick, but I'm just going to try and draw a pentagram straight across the eye. See, that went a little bit thick there. I'm going to try and keep the lines consistent, she says. This has to go up here and then across. And then hopefully these two will meet. It's a bit of an awkward angle actually. Could do with flipping the paper around, but I can't really do that because I've got it right in position for you to see. But there is your basic pentagram. Now ideally I would like that to be a little bit thinner and finer, and hopefully you'll be able to do that. But you could leave it like that if you want, or you could sort of try and flick in a little bit of white around the edge of the iris, just to give it the look of, you know, it having that sort of liney thing that irises have. But you know, as I've said, it's not the best one, that one isn't, but it's an option. It's an option. It's not, you know, it's not my favourite out of the lot, but it's an option for you to do there. So you've got a pentagram, all nice and Halloweeny. You could use for a witch's eye or something like that. But anyway, there you go. So that's that one. Next up, what do we have? We have, ooh, we've got like a bloodshot eye coming up now. So I need to make sure that I've got everything I need. Yes, so black. We already have the black. Then you're going to need black cherry. I'm sorry if it feels like I'm doing a lot off camera here. It's just that I'm referring to my handwriting, which is terrible, and trying to find exactly which colours I need. So black cherry is PC 1078. Then you'll need dahlia purple, which is PC 1009. Process red, PC 994. And white, which is PC 938. Make sure that your white is clean and nice and sharp. Okie dokie, so for this one, number 13, we are, we're doing pretty much the same again, but it's going to look cool, it's going to look cool. These, don't forget, these are combos as well. So even though it's the same kind of technique, it is different combos that you can use. So yeah, same again with your lightest colour, which is, if we ignore the white, is the process red. So I'm going to go through this phase kind of fairly quickly because I think we know the score by now. Dahlia purple. and the black cherry. Just going to check for glare. And this one's okay, the glare's kind of up at this level, isn't it? So black cherry, going back down to Dahlia purple to blur and blend. And then process red to blur and blend that bit. And this is a really nice deep pink eye. Okay, pretty happy with that. Sorry about my creaky chair, guys. Okay, so just checking my notes. Yeah, so first of all, we're going to use the white to just brighten up the very, very centre around the pupil. So where you put the processed red, just do a little layer of white, and that will just really brighten the eye up. You can go back in with your processed red and neaten up the line if it's gone a bit skew-iff. Yes, that is a professional term. And then fill in that black pupil again, because no doubt you'll have got white all over it. Now, when you have filled in your black pupil with your black pencil, grab hold of the Dahlia purple, make sure it's sharp. And what we're going to do now, in a little difference to using a fine liner and creating these black lines for the iris, we're going to drag the black pigment out of the centre of the pupil with the Dahlia purple. I'll check this out. Hopefully you can see this. So we're dragging out the black that we just put down. Now if you're using soft pencils, this will be really easy to do, because obviously black is the deepest pigment, the darkest colour, and you can just drag it out with your Dahlia purple, and it just looks absolutely awesome. Again, just use your black wherever it's gone to fill it back in if you need to. And I probably, looking at this one, because they're all different, aren't they, I probably will just use a little bit more of this processed red to push the dark areas back slightly. I think it's a bit too thick, the dark area. But yeah, so we've got a really sort of subtle flick going on there from the pupil. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the permanent red that we used earlier, and I'm going to create a bloodshot effect. So look, I'm just flicking out from the corner and from this corner as well, keeping the lines kind of curved towards the top and the bottom, so that we've got that sense of it being a rounded object. Then going to quickly grab the darkest of the reds, which is tiny. It's the Crimson Lake PC925, and just fill in the very outer corners with that dark red. And hopefully you can see that just deepens it up, gives it a little bit of contrast and a bit of difference, so it's not all one shade of red. Looks a bit darker over here in the very corners. And then making sure that your pencil's quite sharp, just doing some little squiggly worm lines all over the white bit, which I think is called the sclera of the eye, just to give that look that it's bloodshot. I'm probably not the best at this, but I'm sure you guys will do fantastic when you have a go. So just lines coming up from the bottom as well, if you can fit them in. Little spider veins. Okay. Again, this is one of those that I think my practice go looked better than my go now. But anyway, again, don't forget your little highlight. Really important. Just gives that glassy look. There are different highlights you can do. You can play around, but I just like doing a little dot quicker. Next one, we're going to do a unicorn eye. This could be a unicorn eye or a fairy eye. It's really, really sweet. For this one, you'll need cobalt blue hue, which is PC133, blue slate, which is, if I can find it, is this blue slate? Yeah, blue slate 1024, deco pink, PC1014, and hot pink, PC993. Glitter is also optional. I'm just looking at this and it's gone blurry, and I'm really hoping that it wasn't blurry that entire time that I was doing this. I'll have to look back afterwards. Sorry if it was. Right, so we've got all of our numbers and names of our colours. So what I'm going to do to start off with, I'm going to do a bit of a different thing this time. Instead of going around the pupil like we've done before, I'm going to start from the top. And I really hope it doesn't go blurry again. So with your cobalt blue hue, simply colour the top bit of the eye, going a little bit longer down the sides. It just gives it, again, that look of curvature. Then your blue slate, blend in again, a bit longer down the sides. Then your deco pink, which blends surprisingly well with the blue slate. Wouldn't think it would, but it does. You can go under the pupil now at this point, and you'll end up with a little bit of area at the bottom for your hot pink to sit in. And you can just bring that up around the edge a little bit and blend it with your deco pink. So just keep adjusting, but this one's very quick and easy. They're all very quick and easy, to be honest. I'm just wondering why I've left out these two eyes here. I don't know. We'll come back to them. Right, so once you've done that, you want to make sure your pupil's nice and crisp and black. And then, because it's a unicorn eye, optional sparkle. So this is a Spectrum Noir sparkle pen in clear. And you can never really see the sparkle while it's wet. You have to wait for it to dry, but ain't nobody got time for that. So I'm going to show you the one that I did, which is here. And you can kind of hopefully see that sparkle and how that shimmers. So that's a really cool idea for a unicorn eye or a fairy or something equally as cute. It's nice and sort of subtle and nice and girly, that kind of combo. Don't forget your highlight, which you probably want to wait until the sparkle pen has dried, because that highlight's just bled all over the place. I'll fix that up in a bit. Maybe if I just get rid of it for a sec. Can't leave things alone. So I'll wait. I've messed up the pupil now. So I'll wait for the sparkle pen to dry, and then I'll come back in and do the highlight. Okay. Next eye, which I guess we should go up here to do because we've missed out two eyes for no reason. The next one is a kind of sunset eye. So for this you will need Crimson Lake, which I think we've got out already. Yep, 925. Permanent Red, again we've got that out. Where are you? Here we go. Orange, which we haven't got out. So, oh no, we have. Where is it? Orange, here we go. Orange is PC918. Yellowed orange and canary yellow. So yellowed orange is already out apparently. Yep. 1002 and canary yellow 916. So again, pretty much exactly the same as we did the unicorn eye, but we're going to do a sunset combo. So starting off with your darkest colour, the Crimson Lake. Just filling in that top bit of the eye. Coming down a little bit. I've still gone onto this eye and not that one. I swear to God, if my head wasn't screwed on. Okay. So that's your Crimson Red, then your Permanent Red. Exactly the same method as the unicorn eye. Then your orange. yellowed orange that can go underneath the pupil now. And your canary yellow, and there you will have a beautiful sunset eye. Don't really know what you'd use that on, some kind of hybrid creature maybe, but it's really pretty anyway. Little highlight, massive highlight. Just looking at these highlights, just sometimes the Posca paint kind of dries and you can see the colour through it, so I want to keep it really nice and white if possible. And I'm just going to take the black pencil and just neaten up this eye, because I've noticed that it's got sparkle absolutely everywhere and I only want the sparkle on the iris, so there we go. Next up, maybe we'll remember to do it here this time. Next up is, oh, it's the werewolf eye. This one is my personal favourite. So for this one you'll need the colours chocolate, let me find chocolate, which is PC 1082, goldenrod, PC 1034. I'm going to have to recruit the kids to come and put all my pencils back in order because they love doing that and I just can't be bothered, I've got too many out. Goldenrod, and then jasmine. So jasmine is PC 1012. So we're going to start with, just trying to remember my process again. Yeah, we're going to start, yeah, let's start with the lightest colour. And we're going to do, let's do it up here because I've remembered, yay. We're going to do a loose ring all the way around the eye with the jasmine. We're then going to do a loose ring around that with the goldenrod. Using the jasmine again to blend and blur. Then the chocolate. So we're going to use a little zigzag technique. We can go around it first. So do the whole outline in chocolate. Getting glitter everywhere. And then just do this zigzag technique where some lines are longer than others. It's really helpful if you've got a sharp pencil as well. And zigzag all the way around the edge of the eye. You're then going to go from the pupil and zigzag with the chocolate still all the way around the edge of the pupil. And this creates an awesome, werewolf eye that really reminds me of the close-up of Professor Lupin in Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban when he's changing to the wolf. So that jasmine really, because it really lightens the ring around the eye, it really sort of sets off the whole thing. So just play around with it, zigzags, lines that are longer than others, and you'll have what should look like a werewolf eye. I think that's pretty good actually. It's probably better than the one that I did in practice, which is a novelty, isn't it? Okay, so that's the werewolf eye. You could deepen that up if you wanted to around the edge with a little bit of 90% cool grey or a bit of black, just if you wanted to add a bit of extra depth. I don't want to play with it too much because it's pretty darn cool as it is. It's my favourite of all the eyes, this one. And again, don't forget to make sure your pupil is nice and black. Should have done that before I did the highlight, but anyway, there we go. Werewolf eye, love it. Next up, oh, this is a really interesting one. Did anybody play the game Resident Evil? Now, I didn't. I was more of a Silent Hill gamer, but I know that they had the Umbrella Corporation logo, and because it's kind of a scary horror game, I thought we'd incorporate that as best we can. So for this one, you're going to need your black fine liner and your permanent red, and that's it. So permanent red, I've got that here ready. And let me just think how I did this. So I'm going to make a little triangle of black here. I'm going to try and do this as I did it before. So it's almost like a trapezium. So it's not a pointy triangle. It's got a flat bottom, a bit like the black eye highlight that we did up here, which hopefully is still on screen. And just making sure that I'm doing it right. So it's kind of like this. Now obviously I'm going completely wrong here because I'm doing them very, very thick and different and inconsistent. This is this is really bad. This is worse than the one I did in practice by far. But we'll see how we go. We'll see how we go. It might turn out okay. And if you guys are retro gamers, then you'll know how to do this logo much better than me. So that's pretty terrible, but still, what we're going to do is we're going to colour in. How many do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so we're going to colour in permanent red. See this? I should have done 6. This is crazy. Look at this one I did. It's absolutely perfect. I should have done 6 because then we wouldn't have 2 that are going to sit together. And there's no real way that I can do that unless I just sort of do that, which just looks a bit weird. Maybe I'll just do it on some of the others just to... I think we can safely say that this particular eye has gone wrong, but still I'm going to make a go of it. And then you can look at the one that I did in practice and you can try and emulate that rather than this. So we need black, don't we? There's no white in this. And then once you've done these absolutely terrible shapes of red, you need to come in with your black liner and just make them curved at the top, which is really difficult to show you on this ridiculous attempt. But if I just bring the other one back and show you what I mean. So can you see where there is white in it? Why have I completely coloured it black? This has just gone completely disastrously wrong. But as you can see, if you just leave one white, one red, one white, one red all the way around, and then you curve your black pen down into the symbol, into each section, that is apparently something like the Umbrella Corporation logo from Resident Evil. So have a good look at that. That's what you need to be doing, not this. But you know, hey ho. So just completely forget about that one and let's move on. Next up is... oh, we've got a little spiral. So you don't need any colours for this. Just grab your black fine liner and attempt to do a spiral. And mine is going to be super wobbly because I cannot keep my hand straight to save my life. But something like a spiral. I'm sure you guys will be a lot more proficient than I am. But that's really, really simple. Obviously, it's just a black spiral, but it looks pretty cool. Instead of just having a normal coloured iris, you've got a spiral. And it is one of the contact lenses that's really popular for Halloween, the spiral eyes. You can sort of try and thicken it up and get it looking, you know, remotely cohesive, but I'm absolutely rubbish at drawing and keeping things straight and uniform. So that's the spiral anyway. Next up, we've got that Eye of Sauron that I mentioned. So for this one, you'll need pumpkin orange, which is PC 1033, orange and canary yellow, which we already have out. So for this one, we're going to use our fine liner to create another slit kind of eye, like a cat's eye, like we did earlier. Colour that all in. Just keep checking that it's not blurred. I'm so worried it's blurred. So we've got that kind of slit eye. And then we're using our canary yellow to go around there. So just outline it. Very similar to how we did earlier with that one. Then the orange. And the pumpkin orange. And this gives us that kind of Eye of Sauron, Lord of the Ringsy look. And again, you can go back in with your previous colours and get it looking a little bit more blended. I was going to say blent then for blended. That's just ridiculous. Very tired. That's my excuse anyway. I'm not actually, it's just that's the way I am all the time. Okay, so once you've got it kind of blendy looking, you might want to just redefine your pumpkin orange a little bit, give it a bit of a deeper outline. You could use a grey to give it a bit more shadow if you wanted to. But that's your basic Eye of Sauron. Well, that's how I do it anyway. And again, you know, you can use a fine liner or anything you like to spread out some little flicks in the eye. But I'm not going for hyper realistic here. This is just, you know, fantasy, quick, fun colouring project. So I think I'm safe to add that bit of highlight there now, and I'll do that one there. Next up, I'm just laughing my head off at that internally. Next up is, oh, we've got another black one. So all we need for this is black, and we need a colourless blender. So hopefully you've got a colourless blender. So that's one of these. This is Prismacolor PC 1077. There's no pigment in this, it is just wax. So it's completely clear. Now for this one, we're going to ring the edge of the iris in the black. So just completely ring the edge like this. And once you've got that kind of fairly consistent all the way around the eye, you're going to use the colourless blender just like we used the Dahlia purple earlier. Sharp, very sharp, important, to flick in all the black from the edge in little lines. Now, again, this is one that I think I did better in practice, because I think I've made the black ring around the edge a little too thick, but that's fine. It's all trial and error. It just seems that most of my errors are on camera instead of in the trial stage. So just making sure it's really nice and dark around the edge. And that's it really. So I'll just show you my my practice one just so you can see it. It's quite thin there. The flicks were quite consistent as well. That one's a little bit too thick, but it doesn't matter. Next up, second to last, we've got a vampire eye. This one's awesome. Very much the same sort of style as the blue and the green with the technique. For this one you'll need Crimson Lake, which we have, Permanent Red, which we have, black, and that blender again. Okay, so for this one, why have I got that colour out? Permanent Red. For this one, we will start with the lightest colour, I think. So Permanent Red right around the pupil. Then Crimson Lake. And then black in the very edge. Now the Crimson Lake and the black will blend together quite nicely. This is another eye that would look really good with that Bloodshot technique here. So going back down again, blending out the black with the Crimson Lake so it's not so harsh. I've got my head at an angle so I can try and see out of the glare and make sure I'm doing it properly. Oh, see, I use such hard pressure, I often break my pencils, which is just sacrilege really, but it's just how I end up colouring. And then I'm using the Permanent Red just to blend out any of the Crimson Lake that looked a bit harsh. And now we've got a beautiful vampire eye. And for this one, oh, what did I do there? For this one, I'm also going to rim the waterline with red. It looks almost like blood has pooled in the waterline. Wonder if I can try and just erase that little bit of red there. The most terrible look with white gel pens. I'm going to need some Posca paint to the rescue, I think. I'm just trying to be a perfectionist, but anyway, that is how I do a vampire eye. Don't forget your highlight. Finally, come to the end. I don't really know what I'm going to call this eye, but basically, I'm going to take a yellow. Let's go for, yeah, we could go for canary yellow. And I'm going to ring the outline. Like that. And I'm going to really dilate the pupil. So we've just got this ring of yellow, very narrow ring of yellow, all the way around the eye. So again, just trying to be consistent with the gap that we leave, which is really quite difficult. Probably be easier to do actually with a fine liner. You can just fill that whole area so it's completely black. And so we've got this very, very dilated pupil with just a slither of yellow eyes. So just, you can just, I can play around with this all day and just berate myself all day, but that's not too bad. Just trying to keep the gap consistent really is the big thing. And then of course your highlight, you could do a couple of highlights on that one, seeing as it's massive black pupil. Oh my gosh, that is it. So we've done, so apart from all of the eyes that went completely, well, that one went completely wrong, but apart from all of the eyes that actually look better when I did it in practice, I think we've got a really nice selection of just fun, funky, creepy, cute, bright, Halloween-y kind of eyes. And I really hope you've enjoyed this video. I know it's been quite long, but I wanted to do them all in real time so that you could see exactly what, you know, what techniques I was using and things. And again, you can go over your highlights if they've sort of faded down a little bit. But yeah, I am really pleased on the whole with how this has gone. Please do let me know if you try out any of these cool Halloween eyes. I would love to see. The way that you can get in touch with me is you can tag me in your photos on Instagram. You can put them on my community group on Facebook. What else can you do? You can tag me on Twitter. I'm pretty much everywhere. I've got social media everywhere. So if you are going to use any of these eye techniques, I would love to see. So here I am again, just fiddling because I can't stop fiddling. So yeah, do let me know in the comments as well what you thought, and also leave a thumbs up for this video because I have spent all day figuring out these eyes. So it really helped me if you did that. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you soon on Colour with Claire.